Hey, this is Buzz Stone with episode 46 of AirWaves. It's time for another closet classic. This time around, we've got it right here, a 1949 RCA tabletop radio. It receives both AM and shortwave, believe it or not. It's a closet classic, and it's up next on AirWaves.
Buzz Stone's Airwaves.
All right, here we are back with episode 46 of Airwaves, and I've got this 1949 RCA tabletop receiver. It's actually a model 9X651, and you'll notice this beautiful brown cabinet here. And believe it or not, it's a 1949 radio, but that's not Bakelite. This was, at the time, something new. It's actually plastic. Which was something new, I think, probably with this model, at least for RCA, back in 1949. Again, it's the 9X651, and I picked this up at an antique mall, and it was, it caught my attention, of course, because I like radios of all kinds. And but I was surprised at how good a condition it was in, and it had a tag on it. It said it works, and so I plugged it in, checked it out, and indeed it did work. It's of course a tube radio. All the tubes are working fine. All the capacitors. One of the common problems with older radios like this is the capacitors will dry out over time, and then you'll get a lot of hum in the radio. If they work at all. So what I'll do here is give you a layout of the front, and then we'll turn the radio around, and you can take a look at the back. And I've got some pictures of the inside when I took the cover off that I'll show you those. I'll put those up on the screen later. And then after we've taken a look at the outside of the radio, I'll move it to another room because I'm getting some kind of radio interference in here. I can't figure out where it's coming from, but I want you to hear this thing because after all these years, it's still working pretty good. This is, of course, a tube radio, and I mentioned it's AM and shortwave, and you'll see across the top here, these are the shortwave frequencies, and then these are your AM broadcast frequencies across the bottom. We're zoomed in tighter here now on the display dial of the radio, and you'll see here in the center that that going down there, that's actually, there's an internal light there that lights up the display. There's just a single light. As far as I can tell, that's still the original light bulb in there, still working after all these years. And as I mentioned, across the top here, you've got your shortwave frequencies, and across the bottom, the AM broadcast. Now, I don't know if you can tell or not, but there's these red areas across the top of the dial. Those are the different shortwave bands on the radio, and I've tuned across here, and I only pick up stations where those red brackets are. An interesting design there. But to give you an idea of what it does pick up, they call it the standard broadcast band down here in the bottom, the shortwave. They call it shortwave C band, which extends from 5.9 to 17.9. They've got megacycles, so that tells you how old it is. Today we would call that megahertz. So those are the range of frequencies there. Later on, like I say, when I take it to another room, we'll tune across there and you can hear it, both on the AM and the shortwave frequencies. As I mentioned, this is a tube radio, and so I'm going to actually give you the tubes that are in there. There are 5 tubes. One is a 12B A6, which is the RF amplifier. Then there's a 12B E6, which is the converter, a 12B A6, which is the IF amplifier. Then it looks like a I'm not sure if that's a 12, again, it would be a 12SQ7, which looks like it's the detector. And then for the RF output, or the audio output, excuse me, it's a 3516G, oh, excuse me, 35L6GT tube. Oh, and there's one other one. There's actually 6 tubes in here. There's also a 35Z5, which is the rectifier tube. And the loudspeaker in this, it's a 5-inch speaker with an impedance of 3.2 ohms at 400 hertz. And I thought this was an interesting stat. The power output, it says undistorted, is 0.8 watts, maximum 1.2 watts. Okay, now I'll back out again and show you the 3 control knobs on the front. Looking at the front of the radio now, you'll see we have 3 control knobs. This first one is the on-off volume control knob. This one is the band, whether AM or shortwave, and there's a third position which is actually phono input, and when we turn that around I'll show you that on the back. And this of course is the tuning knob. Now looking at the back, it's pretty basic. You don't see any obvious controls or anything. This right here, it looks to me like it's a place to put a grounding strap, although I did try to put that into my grounding strap here that I use for my ham radios, and I was getting some arcing when I did that, so not quite sure about that. And here you see this wire. This is your long wire coming out for your shortwave stations. And this label, I don't know if you can see that on camera. Let me see if we can zoom in here. You can see that. Hopefully you can read that, but it says this is to certify that this instrument has the acoustical balance which produces the tone of the golden throat. Okay, and then it's signed, it looks like D.D. Cole, I believe, and he's the chief engineer for RCA Victor. So I thought that was pretty interesting. Up here though you can see the top of the AM antenna when I show you the inside here later. As a matter of fact, I'll go ahead and put that picture up on the screen now so you can see what the inside of this radio looks like. Okay, of course you can rewind and pause if you want to get a better look at that. Now, if you want to look up information on this radio, that's another number that you can use there. It's the RC 1085. You will find info online if you look at that. There's also some kind of adjustment screw right here, and this is your phono jack input. So if you have a turntable, you could actually plug it into the back of this radio and use the radio speakers and amplifier to listen to your favorite records. Of course, that would have been, well, likely would have been a 78 RPM, although in doing some research on this radio, I did find out that this same year that RCA introduced the 45 RPM record. And of course they needed a turntable record player that could play 45 RPM, so they also introduced that as well. But interesting to note that in 1949 the 45 RPM record first came into being, and of course became very popular through the 60s and the 70s, and then finally succumbed towards the latter part of the 70s. People started buying cassettes, and then of course the CD came in. I think it was like about 1982. Okay, so we're back to the front view of the radio here, and in this next segment, as I said, I'm getting some kind of interference here on the radio, so we'll move it to another room, and I'm going to tune through the dial and let you hear what it sounds like.
Truth to Ponder with Bob Bierman. And welcome back to part 2 of the program, Truth to Ponder. I'm your host, Bob Bierman. We're going to switch gears right now. This weekend marks the beginning of what is called the Advent...
All right, you're listening to the Shortwave Band on the RCA tabletop radio. This 1949 tube-operated radio. And as you can see, we're getting a fine signal here on this shortwave station. Again, this is just operating off that long wire that comes out the back of the radio. So I'll just do a little tuning. And I did one thing that I have noticed. For some reason on the shortwave frequencies, this thing is very sensitive when you're tuning. It's hard sometimes to get it right on frequency, but we'll just kind of tune around and see what we can hear here. Of course, at night, you will get a lot more stations on these shortwave frequencies. And up here on the right side of the band, I've yet to really get anything strongly, but we'll tune on back down this way. Going down here, I think we can.
Welcome to Vegans Are Cool. They present association members and friends from around the world. Those multi-talented kids demonstrate what it means to follow a loving vegan lifestyle while pursuing their passions. The vegan lifestyle is one that doesn't involve eating and using animal products. Smart and cool. They are role models of peace and love. Let's see them in action. We'll introduce you to 2 young Korean vegan artists who are sharing their inspirations with the world. First, let's meet Sia in Wonju County.
Old hospital buildings, outdated equipment, insufficient or poorly trained staff, online classes without enough devices, factories with their activity suspended temporarily, a hospitality sector on the verge of bankruptcy, closed down theater and cinema halls, hospital congestion.
Oh, that's why the name of the book is The Meaning of Words. It's about Korean homonyms, or words that have more than one meaning.
So this is apparently Korean shortwave station. I'm not sure if it's North or South
The book
Korea.
will help young people use these words correctly. How wonderful. Thea has learned to meditate daily from our beloved...
There is volume pot is a little dirty. You can hear it when I turn up and down.
Spiritual profit in her life.
Okay, so there's an example of the shortwave band on this radio. Let's switch on over to the AM broadcast.
35-31, top scorer in that first half for the Bulldogs. Trent Stepney with 7 points. You got 4 other Bulldogs with 6 points in that first half. L.J. Thorpe, Tajon Jones, Jamone Battle, and Luke Lawson showing off from long range, hitting 2 out of 4.
This is a local station, 570 WWNC.
Bulldogs scoring, Evan Claiborne, 4 points as well. 35-31, Bulldogs on top of the Seahawks in our second game of the Mako Medical Asheville Classic today. The first game.
I really wish it was later at night because I was picking up something on just about every frequency.
He would bring something special to me. And the
6 of 6, 84 yards and a score. Carter, the leading rusher for Carolina with 29. Book, the leading rusher for Notre Dame with over 30. As an incompletion in the flat near side. Tommy Trimble couldn't hang on to the throw from Book. Trimble had plenty of space to catch the ball. Don't know how much yards he would have gained after catching it as Surratt. Play, she will become the first woman to participate in a Power 5 football game.
women, and
Those commercials with like the college basketball games, like it's like the Cameron Crazies times 10. Remember those great Cameron University commercials?
Yeah.
It's like this is the most amazing college basketball game ever. Who are they playing? Laverne.
God, and with diverse miracles. God does things that we don't understand. It's hard for you to believe, but God does them anyway. I mean, hey, everything.
3-yard line.
So anyway, there's a quick tune across the AM band, and I think what I'll do, because I really want you to hear how well this radio really does receive. Let's see, it's 4:40, 1640 hours here, and I'm going to wait till the sun goes down and come back and give you a little preview and see what the band sounds like at night. Okay, we're back here. It's nighttime now. It's 1800 hours, 6 p.m. on the East Coast. And let's see what we got here on the AM broadcast dial.
Asheville. Get a foul on Thomas Allen. The 5 on the floor for State. I think they called the foul on Dewana.
More compared to Eggland's Best provides 6 times more vitamin D, 10 times more vitamin E, and 38% more lutein, plus more folate and iodine too, all to help you maintain a strong
Familia, así terminamos su boletín informativo. For tonight, we'll also see cloudy skies, low of 34. For your Saturday, expect a high of 48, partly cloudy as well. And we'll continue to see those conditions. Saturday night, but with a low of 32. From your severe weather station on 9 First Warning forecaster, Raven Richard, News Radio 700 WLW.
Radar shows cloudy skies. It is 52 degrees right now. Rising COVID-19 numbers in today. New data in on Thanksgiving Day. 8 new records for COVID-19. Handle their anger.
Some other states have certified its election results.
Ohio Republican Secretary of State Frank LaRose says a record-setting almost 6 million votes were cast with a 74% turnout. He says Ohio cut the number of absentee mail-in ballots that were disqualified for voter error to less than half a...
Partly cloudy. Temperatures in the high. We are 3:34 left in the game. 62.
Eggland's better taste, better nutrition, better eggs.
Right now, Allstate has almost as many ways to save as there are types of music. Save for being a new customer. Save more for adding DriveWise. And save even more for driving safely. Visit Allstate.com or contact your local agent to get a quote. Find out how much you can save today. Allstate. Now that should be music to your ears.
Not available in every state. New customer savings based on early signing discount. DriveWise is an optional feature. Savings vary based on how you buy. Subject to terms and conditions. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, Westbrook, Illinois.
A group of garbage collectors in Britain is lifting people's spirits this holiday season with an entertaining act that's going by.
Next summer, local organizers announcing now they plan to hold 18 test events in March, April, and May. It comes up
for the Roman Church, which is the church.
South Carolina.
Sports animals.
Hour number 4 of Sports Talk begins with Jimmy Hyams. I'm John Wilkerson. John McClain of the Houston Chronicle joins us later this hour. But
Walking on social media and I'm seeing tweets like, first the NFL takes away our bye week because of another team who can't get their COVID situation together. Now
Hãy cùng trú tại tỉnh Khánh Hòa, Son Giang.
By visiting MakeTheConnection.net. AM 1090 KAAY.
To recall over 1 million U.S. vehicles with engines that can fail. It resolves a 3-year government probe into the companies.
That's KAAY in Little Rock, Arkansas.
week. Chris Wehrman, who manages Country Pines Christmas Tree Farm in Wright City, says people are also returning to the real thing.
Officers have been doing
Again, the game, even though it's only a second game, the game has slowed down for him. Took his time there. Good decision. He's going to get it. 3 to make you.
Will Smith tells Total Information PM that this Saturday is
So there you have it. In 1949, tube-powered tabletop radio, picking up AM and shortwave stations. Another closet classic on AirWaves. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed yet, well, we would like it if you did. Of course, we'll have lots more videos coming down the dial, as AirWaves is about all kinds of radio. You never know what you're going to see next. This is Buzz Stone saying, hope you had a good Thanksgiving, and we got Christmas and New Year's yet to come. I hope everybody has a great holiday season, and I'll see you down the dial.